Alex, let's get into things properly. With Sam Darnold being traded to the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers, we thought they were going to trade for Deshaun Watson. There's a lot of talks about that. Who knows if anyone's traded for Deshaun Watson at this point? But the Jets, in return, they gave a 2021 sixth rounder and a 2022 second and fourth. What do you think about this trade, and who are the biggest winners and losers coming out of this news?
just to piggyback off of your SCG subs. How cool is it to walk into a gym? They see you putting up, your +5 max on the bench, on the squat, whatever you're doing that
Oh
day.
yeah,
They're like, dude, like, how are you doing this max right now? You're lifting some serious iron. They're like, oh, just I'm on some swamp juice. Like, how cool is that? Just to say, like, I'm on
right?
swamp juice. Like, everyone just like looks around and is like, oh my god, this dude is legit. So yeah, go check them out. They just showed up on my doorstep. I cannot wait to go test it out at the gym and maybe add a little extra weight to my maxes. But yeah, this Sam Darnold trade, I think it does two things. I think it first completely solidifies the Jets. They're going to take Zach Wilson. There's talk about the Eagles trying to maybe jump up to two to draft Zach Wilson with their new extra first from that trade down. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that the Jets would part ways with Zach Wilson anytime soon. So it takes them out of it just completely solidifies Zach Wilson at number two. I think it also takes the Panthers out of the quarterback market. They were
Mm-hmm.
Deshaun talk, they were Russell talk, they were trade up to four talk, they were all these things, and I think they are going to either solidify themselves at that number eight, get some offensive weaponry help after they lost Curtis Samuel, or their prime spot if one of those quarterbacks drops to their spot for someone else that we're not thinking about to jump up and take one of those quarterbacks. So I think did those two things. As far as biggest winners and losers,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to gauge because I think the only thing that you can look at from the Jets side is they're completely washing their hands with Sam Darnold. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever they can get from it is, gaining assets. Sam Darnold was a dead asset to them, wasn't a dead asset to someone else. So getting whatever you can for a quarterback that's been there for 3 years already, clearly is not the guy. They gave it 3 years. They did what they could. It's clear that he's not the guy that they want to move forward with someone else. So they got three picks. Nothing this year besides that sixth rounder. So I can't say that they're losers. Do I think they could have got more?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, but this late in the offseason, especially when all the quarterback market kind of shaken out already, I think that was the best they were going to be able to get. And they diversified themselves, and they have Panthers picks, which I think going forward, that second round pick next year and that fourth rounder are going to be towards the top of the draft order. So I kind of like what the Jets did. I don't really understand the Panthers
Mm-hmm.
because if you're taking a flyer on a guy, I get it, but you don't give up three picks for a flyer on a
Yeah.
guy that's going into his fourth year that has none of his metrics, none of his advanced stats, none of the eye test, nothing looks good so far. And you can say weapons, you can say offensive philosophy, you can say offensive line,
You can just say
but
Adam Gase.
yeah, you can say all those things, but still, like, just from just a pure football talent standpoint, Sam Darnold, I don't see how you can be so drawn to him
Mm-hmm.
over another guy in the draft, over maybe waiting another year. I know the quarterback market
I
next
just don't
year
see it.
in the draft is not great, but I don't see this. I see this as a lateral move from Teddy
Mm-hmm.
Bridgewater. I don't know why you're giving up assets to get Sam Darnold. There's maybe a 1 in 100 shot he becomes he lives up to where he got drafted in 2018, but I just don't see that happening. So I think this is a slight win for the Jets. Don't really see anything positive for the Panthers other than they get to put a new guy on marketing and they can say that they got the third overall pick added to that offensive room. But
To
I
be
don't see
fair,
it.
the Panthers put out a couple good memes after acquiring Sam Darnold, so that was probably the biggest plus. I think the biggest winner here is it's going to be Sam Darnold because
Yeah, it's probably Sam Darnold, right?
he gets out of an awful situation. He goes from Adam Gase and nothing, and I think it's talked about a lot, but sometimes overlooked in this. He gets to go from a huge market like New York is, where they have 30 reporters just for the Jets alone, and he's able to go to the Carolina Panthers, a good team that's well known and has a good base out there in Charlotte. but it's nothing like New York. It gives him a little more ability to develop.
And it's also a
At least
younger team. It
attempt to.
fits his
Yeah.
timeline better.
Also, I just like what they have going down there with the philosophy in Carolina. It's a good move for him. For the Jets, obviously, you're the biggest loser. Even though you're able to turn, essentially what you did, you took a third rounder, you took a third round draft pick, and that you turned that draft pick into 3 awful losing seasons and a sixth rounder and a second and fourth rounder.
Yeah.
The Valley doesn't. It's not equivalent. It's not
No,
equivalent.
I get you. It's not equivalent, but you still have to look at it from their perspective. I mean, they
They were
were
able to
given
dump
they
talent
gave
for
Sam
something.
Darnold a chance for 3 years. They evaluated him, and he's now clearly like nothing to them, and they still managed to get 3 picks. So yeah,
That's fair. That's fair.
like in a vacuum, you look at Sam Darnold, number 3 overall, ahead of 3 other quarterbacks, 2 of them significantly better than him,
Mm-hmm.
over other guys in the draft that were extremely impactful. Another guy I'll talk about coming up, but they were able to get 3 picks for a dead asset. Like, you can't look at that as a loss for the Jets
Mm-hmm.
in the moment. Overall, huge loss for the Jets. They completely squandered a top 3 pick, and they lost for 3 years because of it.
Baker
But they
Mayfield,
still were able to
Josh Allen,
recoup some of the value,
Lamar
and now
Jackson.
they're drafting number 2 again.
Yeah. So, hey, maybe Zach Wilson works out this time. It can't be much worse than what happened with this whole Sam Darnold experience.